Hi, Jane here. Thanks for joining me. I'm a huge fan of empowering you, as are the speakers in our Go Big series. Have you stopped to think recently what you really want in your life? Do you feel like you were meant for more, as I had for so many years? What's the big goal that you want to achieve this coming year, or a fear that you finally want to get over? If you're ready to re-envision your future and launch your big idea, maybe spread your influence or get over a fear finally, then I invite you to join me and some of our speakers. We want to help you empower your mindset, build your vision, and own your dream. Stop needing to be right and let's do this now, together. Go to janeapplegath.com, click on Go Big Sign Up, and I will see you there. Sending you much love and success. Have an incredibly epic day. Hope to see you soon. Hi everyone, I'm Jane Applegath, and welcome to the Epic Vision Zone, where some of the world's most successful self-made women and men share their multi-million-dollar ideas, their high-performance habits, visionary mindsets, and resources so you can hit the go button on your epic life. I'm here to tell you this is your time now, so let's get rolling. Today's guest is Wendy Darling, an expert at helping clients navigate change. A former host of her own radio show, Wendy is the founder of the Miraculous Living Institute. Her expertise as a life and business transformational coach, a speaker, master healer, and more spans more than 40 years. Coaching in diverse segments, Wendy's innovative system, the Miraculous Living Method, helps individuals identify priorities, core values, build healthy relationships, and stronger teams with ease and speed. Featured in Forbes and more, Wendy is the #1 best-selling author of Create Your Miraculous Life, It's Never Too Late, as well as The Miracle That Is Your Life. Welcome, Wendy, and thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful to be here, Jane. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Oh my gosh, your information and your training couldn't be more timely. We'll get into that right now, just starting out with the inspiration for writing your book, Create Your Miraculous Life. Can you give us some insight into that? And what a marvelous title, by the way.
Oh, thank you for that. Well, first of all, it actually started out more, it's never too late. I was 69, rapidly approaching turning 70, and I was realizing there was still so much more I wanted to experience, so much more I wanted to do, and yet I was pretty sure that there were fewer steps in front of me than behind me. And so that was very present. By the way, I made it to 70. It didn't hurt. It's all good. I was not feeling like life was very miraculous. And then to just add to the mix, my son became very ill, and it required a lot of my time and attention, which I was more than happy to do. But as you might imagine, it too, who doesn't at some time feel like they need a miracle in their life? And I was no exception. And yet I felt this pull to write this book, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had to find that place again of hope and belief, and were miracles really possible? And so I was no different than anyone else. And it was really a labor of love. I think it helped me keep myself somewhat uplifted while my son was healing. And by the way, he's doing much better, I'm happy to say. And that's how that birthed. So it did start out, it's never too late. It was actually my best friend, who also happens to be my publisher, said, because I was feeling like it's never too late is not enough. Something's missing. And she had said, Wendy, based on what happened with your first book, you have managed to find yourself in the miracle business. I think that needs to be a part of your book. And so I thought, this is perfect. my first book, as you mentioned, is titled The Miracle That Is Your Life. And this is Create Your Miraculous Life. And I was in the mix. I always seem to put myself in these little positions. And so that's how it all began.
That's a wonderful story. I love the fact that you said it's never too late, because it really isn't. Our lives are what we make of them. And some people at the near the end, they want to retire and just hang out. But I find it so much fun and so motivating to speak with individuals like yourself, share your wisdom and your knowledge with others that are out there. I just love that. And I could see very easily why your book has soared to number one, especially in these crazy times that we have. Now, I had my question. You answered the second question was, how did you come up with It's Never Too Late? And you answered that. But you did say that this got you into the miracle business. Maybe expand a little bit on that. You mentioned about your son, but it's interesting because when we
Yeah.
think of miracles, we think of it very esoterically, but it's really, you mentioned, are they really real? So I'll just let you have that and run with it.
Yeah. So it really was not something, when I was a little girl and you said, what would you like to be when you grow up? I don't think miracle worker or anything about miracles would have been in the top 100 anything. But what ended up happening was now probably 6 years ago, my first book came out. And in the stages when I was actually writing the book, I worked with my best friend, who I mentioned already, Robin Simons of Crescendo Publishing. She has this wonderful strategic process that pulls out what it is that you want in your book. And so we had all these little sticky notes and chapters were outlined. And I remember Robin looked at me and said, well, what would you like the title of your book to be? And I remember looking at the wall and I was drawn to this one sticky note. And I started telling her about my son and how he received his baby name, his Hebrew baby name. So I happen to have been raised Jewish. And in Jewish tradition, there's you give your child a Hebrew name, and many times it's after someone who's already deceased. And so my father had passed away several months prior to that at a very young age. My dad had a massive heart attack playing racquetball, and that was that. And his Hebrew name was Nissen, which translates to miracle. And so my former husband's grandfather also had recently passed away. His name was Charles, and the Hebrew name for Charles is Chaim, and that translates to life. My son's Hebrew name is Nissen Chaim, which translates to the miracle of life. And that's how the book got named. And then at that point, I shifted the business to the Miraculous Living Institute. And my miraculous living method, the process that I have been gifted with after a very serious accident. And yet, even though I felt uncomfortable with that, Jane, at first, I also could feel that this was how I was guided. I never thought I would be a voice for miracles. And please know there have been many times in my life I was praying for anything that looked remotely like a miracle. And so that's how that happened. And for me, a miracle can be anything. It could be anything we're grateful for. I am grateful that we have technology and you can be sitting in your home, I'm sitting in mine, and we're just talking easily. And I know a couple years ago I had an echocardiogram because it's something I stay on top of because of my family history. And I was able to see my heart in action. And if that's not miraculous, I don't know what is, because that little sucker was just working away. You talk about running a marathon 24/7, phenomenal. And I think when we start paying attention to the true gifts, the true blessings that exist right now, no matter what your circumstances. The gift of that is not only you start appreciating your life more, and sometimes it might be, oh, I'm so grateful my heart's beating. I'm grateful my lungs are working. I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. Um, More miracles will present themselves.
I love that. Oh my gosh. You've segued right into the next question, which was, what does a miracle life look like? But I understand that it can be anything. It's interesting because the other day I heard someone say, we have to redefine what success means. We have all been looking at success the wrong way. He said, success is waking up and feeling happy for the miracle that is your life. And I was like, wow, the light bulb just went on. And he's right, because we're on autopilot and our bodies function on their own, our minds, our hearts. So we take it for granted every day that we wake up, and that we wake up, basically, even.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's like you said, your father died suddenly playing racquetball. I mean, this is it. But just I did have that question: what does a miracle life look like? Because when we think of miracles, we always think of something grandiose, but it's everything and anything.
It is
It's just
everything.
yes,
And
it is
and it's
everything.
also very personal. So what's
Yes,
miraculous for you will be different than for me, and vice versa. And I think
as
that's the whole point. It's when I work with people, one of the first things I do is I say, okay, let's imagine you have a magic wand. What would you like that life to look like? And we delve into that and we start creating, because one of the things that tends to happen, just as you touched on, we can easily get caught up in the day-to-day responsibilities, the day-to-day demands, the day-to-day whatevers. And all too often, our desires get pushed down of what truly makes us happy, what truly fulfills us. And we're seeing people at this point in time really looking at that, because it's true. What makes you happy? What makes you happiest? It doesn't mean, I'm not going to say, hey, bungee jump, quit your job and hope for the best. But at the same time, if you're dissatisfied over here, start focusing over here and nourish that a little bit more so that, this becomes more acceptable. I've seen people completely shift their perspective in the workplace when they start focusing on a little bit more of what makes their heart sing.
yeah,
And there are ways to even take jobs that are unsatisfactory, and turn them around. And you can be inspirational and a leader within your own sphere, within your organization as well.
absolutely. I know when you lift someone else up, you feel good for yourself. It energizes you. So you had touched a little bit on it there, and my question was to jumpstart your miracle life. Now you said something that you walk your clients through is to pretend you have the magic wand. Maybe give us a little bit more insight into that process so that anybody watching could say, okay, how could I just tap into that a little bit more and start my miraculous life?
Yeah, we were never really taught to dream big.
Mm.
And I'm not just talking about winning the lottery, although it's possible. Who am I to say? I mean, there was a long period of time that I thought I would win the lottery. And foolishly, I said to God, I want to just learn how to feel like I won the lottery. I want life to feel like that. So in Magic Wand time, it's really creating a vision of what you want your life to be like. So for example, you start with, where do you want to live? What kind of home do you want to be living in? I can remember when I first did this years ago. I was living in Dallas, Texas. I always wanted to have a home that had a view of the ocean. Now, I think we both can agree, Dallas, ocean, I was pretty far away. Well, today I don't have that house yet. That's going to be my next one, but I live in San Diego, California. And I can assure you, I'm a whole lot closer to that ocean view than I was when I was living in Dallas. And the reason it becomes important, so vision is creating the picture, you know, your relationship, the type of work. You may not even know the type of work, you just need to know how you want to feel. And then we go
Mm.
deeper into what I refer to as your mission. So, using the home as an example, sure, that would be great to have a beautiful home with a view of the ocean up high up on a hill. But why? What purpose does it serve? Well, the mission takes the higher meaning and purpose for that. So for me, in part, it's showing I'm on path. I'm doing my job. I'm making my mark. And then another higher purpose for me is for my health because my home environment's so important for me. And
Mm.
my home nourishes me so I can be present and available and giving more and more to my clients, or if I'm speaking or conducting a workshop or retreat, I'm fully available to serve. So it's not just the vision and the hope. There's a method to my madness that I want people to be making special contributions in their life. And that's really where deep fulfillment comes from.
Yes, absolutely. What really resonated with me, Wendy, when you said, think about how you want to feel. That is so powerful because most individuals don't do that, or they're not guided by that, or if they are, they shut it down because they're too busy or they have other things to do. But to create that vision, first think about how you want to feel. Like you say, your home
Yeah,
is your space and you want it to make you feel calm or good. Or let's face it, I mean, when you walk into a place and your office is all clutter and chaotic, and they've proven that it's not good for your well-being or your mental state at all.
it
But
really isn't. It's a distraction in
yes,
itself. And I work a lot in the domain of working with energy. So I really do recognize the importance of it.
that's fabulous. And I'm so glad you touched on that because there's so many individuals now that are working from home. So that is such a priority to get that straight and to just go with the flow. So you have a method called the Miraculous Living Method. And I'm really curious of the method, and if you could tell us how it is unique from other systems.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to reiterate that there was life prior to my accident and life after my accident. It's kind of that pre and post. And my life prior to my accident, I was a very conservative, very traditional management, organizational development consultant, focusing, and I still do this type of work, focusing on executive and team development. So, so what ended up happening was I was traveling. I'll give the backstory very quickly. I was traveling a lot, working with a Fortune 100 company. I was sick as a dog. I was flying from Dallas to LA,
Mm.
and I went outside the airport because I'd been sick and I wanted to get some fresh air before the plane left. This was obviously, this was 30 years ago, long before we have the restrictions we have today. And I passed out. I fell over a ledge and I fell approximately 25 feet.
Mm.
So, needless to say, I didn't make that trip. And I was taken
No.
to the hospital. They didn't know at first if they could save my leg, which they did. I had multiple surgeries, and it took about 11 months before I walked again, which I do. I was also diagnosed much later with a traumatic brain injury.
Mm.
But what ended, and just some additional things, my former husband came, suitcases packed, around week 4 being in the hospital, saying he no longer wished to be married. I take full responsibility for how I contributed to that decision, but I think you can appreciate the timing wasn't exactly optimal. And he was also awarded full custody of our son, who was only 4.5 at that time. So I was so traumatized. Prior to my accident, I was fearless. They'd say, go in, work with this group. I'm like, sure, no problem. Suddenly, everything felt very different. And it was my mom who taught me, who suggested that I might want to learn how to meditate. And at that time, quieting my mind was a complete oxymoron. You know, it was like, seriously. So I went to this person in Dallas, and I remember after maybe a couple of times working with him, there was a small group of us that met at his home. I said, every time I almost feel like my mind is going to relax, I get this urge to sing. And he said, well, sing. And I actually started laughing. And I said, Michael, you don't understand. I have people in my life that request I not do that. So he just looked at me, he said, Wendy, go back to your spot, give it a shot. So I went back to that little place, got into that space, and I allowed what turned out to be this melodic singing come out of me. And for the first time in a very long time, my mind started to relax as well as my body. And I mentioned I was living in Dallas. What they say is true. Everything is a little bit bigger. I had this beautiful walk-in closet, and I was literally in the closet with all of this. And I'd go into my closet and I'd do my meditation and singing. And it wasn't too long after that that I then was at the same house, same people, and I was walking down the hallway, and I passed by this one man who's part of our group, and out of my mouth comes, you have a block around your heart. And I'm like, well, where did that come from? Because it wasn't a thought. And then what was a gift was somewhere behind me, the man's son, who was a teenager at the time. I hear him say, hey, you have a block around your heart. And I'm thinking to myself, what the heck has happened to me? And so to take a long route to answer your question, this was the beginning of me not only having sound healing come through me, but also I started to see energy. I will close my eyes, Jane, and when I work with somebody, I don't do this just walking down the street, and I can see your energy pattern in a similar way as an X-ray, because one of the ongoing challenges I still have with my brain injury is I don't see internal color very often. Every now and then I'll wake up for a dream and went, that was in color. But typically, no. So little by little, the process evolved. I didn't go to school for this. Yeah, I do have degrees, but not in this. And it's been an absolute gift from the heavens. So what happens when I work with people is we have a target. Some people come to me because they want to attract love. They want to grow their business and become more profitable. They want to replenish relationship. I work with people to help them release weight or improve their health. So it's diverse in that way. And so we have that target, and I'm able to see whatever interference might be taking place. And it's kind of like a very complex Rubik's Cube, because of life experiences, we just get a little out of alignment. Well, the miraculous living method helps put you back in alignment. And what does make me unique from other methodologies is that there is also a brain training component. And so what that means is I either have listen lists that I'm guided to provide, or I'm given statements, affirmations. However, the difference is it's not just saying, let's say a very common one is I'm safe. It's not just saying that over and over again. You will have either me during a live session do healing work with you but then I give you the process, which includes audios. So you're hearing the singing. And also around, I think it was 2001, I started to receive designs that hold an energetic frequency as well. And these are transformational cards. So you'll put your hands on the cards, you'll listen to the audio. And so when you say, I am safe, it's creating either a new neural pathway that's in alignment with what you're wanting to be experiencing in your life, or it's strengthening an existing one. But what it also does is anything that's not in alignment, again, I am safe, rises to the surface. And between the frequencies of the healing sounds in the cards, it loses its life force. And so it allows to clear things out very easily and naturally, which allows people to close their gaps so much easier and quicker. And I love that part. So as I mentioned, I have helped people attract love, which is so much fun. I've helped couples, loosen up the grip of certain dynamics that interfere with their connection and their love for each other. I've helped people make a lot of money and build their business. And as I mentioned, another place is I've helped women that have been abused, and they're freed from that very easily and quickly. I've helped kids with learning disabilities open up. Yeah, I'm working right now with a
Wonderful.
16-year-old that had a stroke, and I'm helping her with her reading, redevelop that. She's doing really well.
That's amazing. So you're working on the scientific level, reprogramming the neural pathways, but also it feels like to me it's like a frequency, like the energetic component of it. So there's a lot to say about that today, especially because now we have the science, we have the capability to understand that those types of processes are for real. And, once you step into them and
Yeah.
you believe, then they can really change your life forever. And it's a miracle. There you go. It's a miracle. Right back to that. It
I know.
really is.
Yeah,
The human
I
body
I
is a
never.
miracle.
Oh, completely. And it's a very special thing because when this first happened, I had no language to describe what was happening to me. And yes, science is catching up that are giving me more words. But the other thing, Jane, that I really love is I think it's wonderful that we can't explain everything in life,
Mm,
that we can't understand everything. And when we let go of that, I think life
mhm.
becomes even more miraculous and magical. Because I kind of like that I can't explain why this all works or why things happen the way they do. I love it.
Just accept that it does, right? Yeah, I love that.
Right.
I love that. Well, you have something, Wendy, that's called the results accelerator process. Now, I just
Yeah.
love that title, and you refer to it in your book, and it sounds like something that we can all use right now. So just touch a little bit on that because I know we're all looking for some good results right now, and the accelerator part is something that I think we could just jump right into.
I don't even remember anymore how this happened. But I was always looking for ways to get my clients to get easier and faster results. And so what ended up happening was one day I thought, well, I already had 10 categories that I worked with. And there are categories like home and intimate relationship and health. And there are obviously 7 others. And I thought, what if I just test to see? So let's say you want to be making more money. All right. So what is your entry point in these 10 categories? Where should you focus first? so that you get easier, faster results. So as an example, there was a man that worked with me. It's been a number of years ago, but it's such a great example. His business was not doing well. He knew me, he knew about my work, and so he wanted to rebuild his business. His results accelerator, where he needed to focus first, he was to start dating. Now you need to know me, the person, would not have suggested that. I would have said, you know, let's dust you off a little bit. Let's get your business going. Then we can talk about the dating part. And he was hesitant too because he wasn't feeling so great about himself. His income wasn't doing very well. But I said, let's just trust the process. So I helped him with his online profile. He gets online. He happened to be living in Costa Rica at the time. He starts speaking to women. He's having more fun. He's enjoying. And honestly, it was probably not even 3 weeks. He met a woman. He connected with a woman who lived in Brazil. And they just had this immediate connection. And guess what started happening to his business? He, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he gets this massive contract. And he had the type of business also that didn't require him to live someplace specific. And within about 3 months, he moved to Brazil. And they had this amazing relationship. So, and then I've had somebody who came to me who wanted to release weight because her friend had worked with me and lost like 60 pounds, and in a relatively short period of time. And so her results accelerator had to do with her career. She was not very happy with me. She said, I did not come to you to speak to you about my career. And so once again, I said, well, can we just talk about it a little bit? Because I'd really like to trust the process. As it turned out, she was not happy in her career. We talked about some different options. She ended up finding a job. I'm not kidding. Within 2 or 3 weeks, guess what happened? Her weight started to release more easily. So the results accelerator could be money to money, career to career. But more times than not, it's health going into this, family going into that. It just depends. And again, I love that it's not me saying, you need to do this. Well, there are times I do say, you need to be doing this. But I'm not creating that. You know, we're leaving it up to the powers that be. And that is what I so greatly appreciate about the Miraculous Living Method and Results Accelerator.
Yes, absolutely. It just goes to show you the domino effect of our lives as a whole. It's like, when you go to the doctor, especially specialists, they just specialize in that one thing, but they don't say what's going on in your life, which could be the cause of, like you said, the individual who couldn't lose her weight. Well, she was stressed, and the stress, as we know, creates cortisol, and the cortisol, of course, your weight, it affects everything. You're sleeping, and if you're not sleeping, your metabolism isn't correct, and oh my gosh, it just goes on and on and on. So yeah, it's I love that. I love that you're looking at the whole, because we don't live in a vacuum. So it's
I know.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
Now stepping in,
thank
yeah.
you.
I recently read an article in Forbes. This is about stepping into a new life phase. And you just touched a little bit on that. And the article was really interesting because it hit hard on the great resignation, which is something that's come up with the current situation and people having the time and the space to look at their jobs, to look at their careers and their lives, and realizing that they want more out of life. And I wanted you to address, what can people do to help themselves step into the next phase of their life, which many of us are doing now, and to not lose hope that things are going to turn out the way that they're hoping that they will, that the change will be positive.
Yeah, in companies, we already saw a very significant rise in employee disengagement. COVID has just dialed it up even
Mhm.
more. But more specifically to what you're asking, I think it's an opportunity to get really, really honest about what
Mhm.
matters to you most. You know, you alluded to the whole definition and the way we viewed success. You know, if I'm happy, that's a good day for me. And yeah, you know, there are other things that are contributing, but I don't even have to have anything to be happy. That's my number one value is to be happy, healthy, and in all honesty, to be wealthy. And for me, by the I feel I need to justify the wealthy. It again, it's not how I view my work. It's more the reward from what I offer. And I believe it's everybody's divine right if they open up to get honest to what their deepest desires really are. Not what you think you should do, not what you think
Mhm.
your parents want you or wanted you to do, but what about you? You know, you don't think my family thought that maybe I was a little, shall we, how can I say this nicely, whacked out when I'm suddenly saying, hey, you won't believe what I can do now? Um, I to this day, I'm pretty sure they don't fully understand what I do. And that's okay. You know, I'm not doing this for anyone's approval. I am offering what has been beautifully been given to me to offer others. And I think it's true for every human being. I think we're all born with a very special purpose that you and only you can fulfill. The former name of my business was Thumbprints International because I always believed that we are unique, just like our thumbprint. There is no one else like us. And our job in life is to discover what are your gifts, what are your talents, what are your skills. And it's not just what you might be excited about, it's also what kind of challenges have you had to face in your lifetime, because those too will leave clues. Just like the young girl that I'm working with right now that had a stroke, I said to her, you don't know yet how this is going to impact choices in the future, how you're going to be able to contribute to others. And so when we get really honest about what's unique about me, and you may have to ask people about that because a lot of times our gifts are so natural to us that we don't know it's anything special. We just kind of think, well, isn't everyone like that? It wasn't until I was in graduate school that one of my professors happened to tell me I was an exceptional diagnostician. I was like, I didn't know that. You know, there were other things too because there were parts of his practicum that I begged to get into, and he was known to put people on the hot seat. And I'm watching
Mm.
people just go one after the other. And I finally went to him, and he said, "Well, why do you think I put you on the hot seat?" And it's like, because you're doing it with almost everyone else. He goes, "No, no, no." He said, people get on the hot seat when they resist. And it's important to
Mm.
pay attention to this because what might you in your life be resisting? He said, Wendy, you're always open to listening to feedback, to trying to better yourself. He said, and that's when he also told me I was a great diagnostician. I said, well, it sure would have been nice to have known that sooner because I could have been enjoying the experience a whole lot more. But I
Yeah.
think we have to pay attention to, are you resisting or are you surrendering? And really pay attention to the pulls of your heart because there's a lot of wisdom in there.
Yeah, really. I mean, talking about energy, the heart has more energy. There's heart math. I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I've forgotten the statistics, but it's just absolutely amazing. You have a segment in your book that you wrote, Journal While in the Lap of God, Your Life's Reflection. Oh, that is so beautiful. Maybe just extend on that a little bit and what brought you to put that way.
Hmm. Great question. Now I have to try to remember, which is not my strongest suit. Um,
It was about
I
describing your
think,
future life.
yeah, it's what we were talking about earlier, that you're creating your life's vision. You want, because again, it's not like, oh, it doesn't come from your mind, it comes from your heart. Again, using your magic wand. If you could wave your magic wand and live your life any which way, where would you be living? Who would you be living with? How would you be spending your day? What family do you have? Your friends, your community? What about fun? What about your career, your finances? Because it's important to live in that space. I spend time, and I recommend this for all the people watching this. Each morning, before you even get out of bed, spend maybe 4 or 5 minutes feeling what that beautiful life by design is. Feel it. See it. What are you doing? How are you doing it? I don't mind sharing. I see myself living in this beautiful home, or sometimes I'm on an airplane en route to a speaking engagement. I see myself on stage with hundreds or thousands of people out there, and I hear what I'm saying. That's my vision. That's my life by design, and having a lot of fun too, by the way. And so it's just important to keep that real, because what we now know, when we train our mind and our emotions, the mind is not able to discern between what's real and what's imagined.
Mhm.
And it will go to work in partnership with the powers that be in the universe to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then I suggest you do it at night before you go to sleep.
Mm, that's a good thought. Yeah. Very good thought.
Well, what happens too, Jane, because when you do that, the subconscious mind doesn't go to sleep, so it continues to work while you're
Oh,
sleeping.
perfect. So it's working in your favor, not against you. So, for
Right.
example, don't watch a horrible, violent movie, but that's going to upset you before you go to bed. Yeah,
Correct.
exactly. And in other words, put yourself in a good state of mind. Absolutely, I believe that completely. Now you have daily miraculous living practices. What daily practices can assist us in living a more miraculous life? And maybe just touch on a couple of them that people could take
Yeah,
away.
sure. Well, I just
Yeah,
mentioned
you just
one.
gave us one. Yeah.
Obviously, I do my own process every morning, and that means I either sing myself, I take out my cards, I always journal, I write out what I'm grateful for, I write out what my intentions are for the day, and the things I definitely know I need to accomplish. And that's kind of what I do. And then typically for me, right after that, I go get some kind of exercise, because I find that when I get some level of movement, everything works better. I want to eat healthier. I want to drink more. I'm more productive. My mind is clearer. Everything is smoother. And COVID was challenging. Thank goodness I live in San Diego and I was able to go out for walks. And just about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was able to join my little gym close to where I live. It's very safe. So it doesn't have to be anything big, but the consistency of practice, just like with the gym, you're not going to transform your body or strengthen your body overnight. It takes consistency. And the same is true with your morning practice.
Absolutely. Consistency. I mean, that's the key to progress. It's the key to success. It's the key to getting your results out of life. Consistency is so important. And, I've often heard people mention that routines, we don't want to get too stuck or caught on that, but certainly a routine, like you said, you every morning you wake up and this is what you do, and then you get the energy moving, whatever works for you, because we all have different circadian rhythms. But there's no question that a routine and a consistent routine is something that will uplift not only your productivity, but your spirit, and your life, for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah, it's all a practice. We're all here practicing life. Nobody has it down. I don't know that we'll ever get it down, but that's the whole point, right? We practice, and then we share what we've learned through our practicing. And I agree with you. I mean, athletes are a great example to look at, because they're something that they have routines, and they continue to, I mean, you can't not get better if you continue to practice. So I love that. So I have one question that, if you were to advise your younger self, what would you want her to know?
I would want her to know how absolutely brilliant and special she really is, and
Mm.
to tell her what that means, because she didn't get that when she was growing up. And to let her know that she's going to be really surprised in a really good way, even though life kind of sucked then, that it was going to turn out really, really good.
Wow, that's great. You would, well, here you are, and here you're going at the great ages that you are, and you're continuing to expand and grow and learn. I love it. I absolutely love that. So because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, I have one last question for you. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Never give up,
Mm,
ever.
I love it. That makes complete sense. Never give up. I love that. Thank you, Wendy. Well, thank you once again for joining us and sharing all that marvelous and miraculous information that our audience can take away, and hopefully put some of it to practice. And you can find Wendy's contact information and everything that you need, including a giveaway, a resource that she has on her website, on her bio page. And be sure to check all of that information out, and as well as her book, which I have read and I thoroughly enjoyed. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath, and check out how you can become an epic entrepreneur at janeapplegath.com. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dream into epic success.